but I don't know.
Roy store, yeah. Dollar General,
Cars are now. Okay, I said you can take care of
everybody else.
I have pictures. I can show them to you right now. It's just it's actually all around that curve. Is that you? Yes. There it is. So yes, I did come. I just didn't get to call you back. But I can imagine you would recognize. Yes, I came by the chance. Thank you. That's good. Yeah. But it shouldn't be that way. But you're getting a lot of credit for the DOT. You're getting a lot of credit. Seriously, it looks good. Yeah, it makes a difference. They did it. Well, Helen was up here.
Who is that handsome gentleman? Yeah. Yeah. Look.
Not somewhere though.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call Sumter County Council regular meeting for Tuesday, April 27th to order. Ms. B, would you please give us an invocation? Let us all stand.
Let us pray. Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we do thank you for allowing us to come to the table once again to do the business that you have appointed us to do. We thank you for all of your many blessings. We thank you for all of those who came to witness our meeting today. They thought it not robbery to be a part of local government today. We thank you for it. And we thank you for all of our council members, our county administrator, his administrative staff, and all of the staff members of this county that takes care of our business of this county. And as we begin this meeting, we invite your presence and ask that you help us to have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to be able to make the decisions that are pleasing in your sight. We thank you for the way you've blessed Sumter, and we ask that you help us to be good stewards of the funds that you have granted to us. And we ask that you continue to be an arm of protection all around those who are still struggling with COVID-19, those who have lost loved ones, those who are hurting. We ask that you just mend their broken hearts, lift their fallen spirits, and give them peace and comfort in their special times. And we ask that you continue to protect our men and women who serve in our armed services and those who are who have served and continue to serve in harm's way. Be a face all around them and protect them in all of their endeavors. These and all blessings we thank and ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Veteran Larry Huff.
Please place your right hand over your heart.
Hold on now. Carlton, introduce Mr. Huff, please.
We are pleased and honored to have Mr. Huff here today. He is a veteran. He has served in the U.S. Air Force, Vietnam, Veteran of Wars, military medals and awards, Vietnam Campaign Medal, Vietnam Service Medal, and National Defense Service Medal. He lives at 4291 South Lake Cherryville Drive in Sumter. He has been retired for 20 years from the U.S. Air Force, and he engages in volunteer work with the Knights of Columbus, and he's chairman of the Sumter County Veterans Association. He is happily married to Miss Carmelita Huff. He has 2 daughters. He has 4 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. It is an honor to be before and with you today, Mr. Huff.
One correction on that. I retired from the military in '78, retired from the school district here in Sumter in 2004. Last time I quit.
Appreciate your public service on both ends.
Thank you. Place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Huff.
Mr. Huff, please join me for a photo. This way. All right. Good. Good job. Good.
Got a run, I've got another meeting to go to.
Carlton, this is.
You're welcome.
Ms. Manning, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir, no changes.
Move for approval. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the agenda is approved. Have a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting of Tuesday, April 13th.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded that we approve the regular meeting minutes from Tuesday, April 13th. All in favor?
Aye.
And also approve the minutes from the budget workshop for Tuesday, April 13th.
Move for approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve the minutes from the budget workshop for April 13th. All in favor? Aye. Land use matters. Ms. Rubin, RZ 2105.
Mr. Shadone, can you log me into this computer, please? Good evening, Helen Rubin from planning staff. Our first request is RZ 2105 at 1765 North Main Street. The applicant is Mr. Leroy Lane Jr., who is the property owner. He is requesting to rezone a 2.23 acre tract of land from agricultural conservation to and neighborhood commercial to general commercial. The lot is at 1765 North Main Street. It's on the east side of North Main, just north of the intersection of Queen Chapel Road and North Main Street. As you can see, it's currently split zone agricultural conservation and neighborhood commercial. Mr. Lane is hoping to rectify this split zoning by giving it a single zoning designation. When we look at rezoning requests, we look at what the comprehensive land use plan designates the property for future purposes. In this case, it is a priority commercial mixed use node. These are priority investment areas within the 2040 land use plan, and they're identified to put future commercial and residential mixed development where we look at design as a focused use of the property. We also look at things like major intersections and whether it's appropriate to have a commercial designation in this particular area. Just to kind of give you an idea of the existing pattern of development around here, it's just south of an existing motel. It's across the street from the vocational rehab facility. Just south of it is a tree service, which is also a home occupation home. This business, it pre-exists our current regulations, so it's kind of a grandfathered, non-conforming home occupation. There is a significant chunk of undeveloped land just across the street, which has also got some commercial zoning and industrial zoning on it. And then across the street directly, there are two houses. And then just south of the tree service on the same side of the road is a property that is actually a special events venue. The property today is fairly heavily wooded. The existing house on the property and all of the outbuildings were removed by Mr. Lane earlier this year. So although there is a fence around the property, it doesn't actually have any structures on it, and it is available for redevelopment. Planning Commission does recommend approval of this request. It does have frontage on a major arterial highway, and the existing pattern of development is that of a commercial mixed-use node. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions of Ms. Rubin? Prior to council taking action on second reading, we will have a public hearing. I now declare the public hearing for RZ 2105 open. Anyone wishing to speak for or against RZ 2105, please proceed to the podium. Seeing none, public comment is closed.
Move for approval. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Then we have second reading for RZ 2105. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed? RZ 2105 is approved. RZ 2106, 6815 Claremont Lane, Ms. Rubin.
6815 Claremont Lane is a request being brought forward by CDB Sumter 6 LLC, represented by Mr. Greg Uger. He is here to speak on behalf of the request. He is the authorized agent. This is to rezone 1.99 acres from agricultural conservation to neighborhood commercial at 6815 Claremont Lane. The property is located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Claremont Lane and North Kings Highway. There are residential developments both to the north and to the west of this particular site, but it is an approximate 2-acre tract that is currently undeveloped and vacant. It is basically a farm field today, and would be redeveloped at some point, this rezoning successful for a small general merchandise retailer. Currently in the agricultural conservation zoning district, that type of retail use is a conditional 500 use that requires getting signatures from adjacent property owners. The applicant is pursuing this rezoning request in order to simplify that process
and to help with any entitlement issues that may come up through the financing process on the property. Just across the street from this, you have a property that is zoned R15 for a currently approved second phase of LRB Estates subdivision. There's also some existing residential development to the north of the site as well as to the south. But directly across the street on Claremont Lane on the south western corner of the property intersection, there is an existing convenience store use. This property does meet the current minimum freestanding zoning area. I apologize, I edited this, but I think SharePoint didn't pick it up. As you recall, last month, or at the last meeting, OA 2102 was approved that did allow freestanding neighborhood commercial districts of 1.5 acres in size to be established. So this does comply with that standard. As I said, it's currently an undeveloped piece of property. It's basically a field that's under agricultural protection at the moment. When we look at this request, we look at the 2040 comprehensive plan. Although it is influenced by the Rural Development Planning District, within the Rural Development Planning District, we do want to focus commercial development at major crossroads that are neighborhood supporting uses. In this instance, this particular location is at a significant crossroads in the Rural Development District, and there are adjacent neighbors that need to have some sort of residential support in terms of commercial retail use. Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request. It is in general alignment with the 2040 plan. We do find that this is an appropriate location given its intersection placement for neighborhood commercial zoning. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
No, you can address council when we have the public hearing. Any questions of Mr. Rudman, council?
Mr. Rudman, the general merchandise store, what kind of store is it scheduled to be?
Mr. Guger can give you more information on this, but it's my understanding that it would be a Dollar General store based on the current regulations. It's a conditional use in the neighborhood commercial zoning district and limited to less than 11,000 square feet in size.
So is this the same applicant that applied for the Dollar General store down on Fish Road, at the corner of Fish Road and Kings Highway?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I declare the public hearing for RZ 2106 be now open. Anyone wanting to speak for this rezoning request, please come to the microphone.
My name is Greg Guger. I'm the owner of Coastal Development Partners. We are the preferred developer for Dollar General in the lower half of the state of South Carolina. We've enjoyed a long-term partnership with Sumter County and brought multiple locations, especially to areas that lack grocery and general mercantile access in your rural areas of your county. This is an area that Dollar General has identified, and this is not a speculative attempt in the area. Increasing property taxes by, we pay about $14,000 in Sumter County in property taxes per year, plus the sales taxes that we pay, and we'll employ 6 to 9 people at this location, new employees, with benefits from Dollar General Corporate. I'm available for any questions. We certainly are at this location sensitive that we're next to some residential. But we're also next to this convenience store that's at this intersection. And we will work with the property owners. We've already reached out to some of them. And, are willing to do fencing and things like that to make sure that we take good care of our neighbors on each side.
What kind of responses have you got from the neighbors?
We've had all favorable responses of people that we talked to.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized. Do you have a list of residents who are supportive of this project?
I don't have like a petition or something like that, if that's what you're asking for. We did much more of a neighborly approach of, we're thinking about doing something here. Would you like that type of service near you? This may be right next door to you. What can we do to
Thank you for that answer. You are aware of the Fish Road location, there being major opposition to the development of the Dollar General there.
I'm very aware of the Fish Road location. We went through the public process and talked to those people. And unfortunately, I think what they're more objecting to at that location is the construction of the Dollar General and the physical store being there after it's done. We actually had and I've dutifully apologized because I've gotten the personal phone calls, which it sounded like maybe you have too.
Many.
We had a road grader at that location that decided to work at about 8 or 9 p.m., which of course OSHA backup signals does not make us a kind neighbor. We quashed that immediately, but we've also worked dutifully with the neighbor to the left and came to an agreement with them, which I worked in partnership with your planning department to come up with a solution. We offered that under multiple solutions, and they took the one that they felt was best for them. And so we try very hard to be good neighbors.
Have you had a formal meeting with that community? And if so, when?
No, sir.
I would suggest you do that.
Duly noted.
Any other questions for Mr. Bougie? Thank you, Mr. Bougie.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak? Please state your name for the record, ma'am, when you come up to the podium.
Hello, my name is Michelle Furman.
I'm sorry, what was your last name?
Furman,
Yes.
I have a question regarding public safety and transportation. Has a traffic study analysis determining effects of development of the traffic in the community? Has that been done already?
True.
Traffic impact studies are done at the time of site plan approval if they're required by SCDOT and by our standards. Those two roads, Claremont Road and Highway 261, are both owned by South Carolina Department of Transportation. So prior to being granted any encroachment permits to that property, they will have to go through the state process to get them. My suspicion is, based on my experience in the site development process, that they will likely not get a driveway on 261. Their driveway will likely come off of Claremont Lane as far west as they can place it safely.
I also wanted to make a request about the meeting that is to be held with the community that they bring that.
Did you hear that, Mr. Bougie?
A request for a meeting? Is that what I heard?
Your meeting, when you have your meeting with the community, bring up the issue with you.
Sure, absolutely. Yes.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Furman. Yes, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak? Please state your name for the record.
It's Charlie Avant.
Last name again? I'm sorry.
Avant, A-V-A-N-T, yes, sir.
AVANT.
Me and my son currently own the property that they're trying to do this with. I live at Beach Creek, within walking distance of that location. I personally went to the neighbors, 6 houses each way. If we need to get a petition, I've already explained and told them that I would help them do that. We're open to it. I no disrespect, I despise Walmart. So if it's easy to run to Dollar General and grab milk or something basic, we're all for that. But like I say, the mass majority, if y'all need a petition done, I will assist him in doing that as well. I'm a small business owner in the area. I own a home, like I said, Beach Creek. I don't feel that it's going to be a negative impact to us. I think it's a positive thing in our area. We need that. Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Avant.
You're welcome.
Anyone else willing to speak? Wanting to speak to council on this issue? Seeing now, public hearing is closed.
Move for approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we have second reading on RZ 2106. Any discussion? All in favor?
Mr. Chairman. I think it's fine to proceed with the vote, but I want to reserve any action I'd like to take on third reading, which would be based on the meeting with the developer and the community and what we assess. So I want to reserve all rights for third reading.
Again, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, RZ 2106 passes. RZ 2109. Ms. Ruth.
RZ 2109 is at 950 and 980 Oswego Highway. The applicant is Ms. Wendy Miller, the property owner. This is a request to rezone approximately 32 acres from light industrial warehouse to agricultural conservation. This is the property in question. As you can see, it is two separate pieces. However, the acreage on its own has one singular tax map number. It is Ms. Miller's intent to actually develop two separate homes on the property, one on the piece that fronts on Oswego Highway, and then one further back on the property on the larger acreage tract. The reason this request is coming before you today is because light industrial warehouse zoning does not permit single-family residential development. As you'll see across the street from this site, there is actually a fairly old residential subdivision that does have general residential entitlement on it. However, on this west side of the road, there's not. Agricultural conservation zoning is just to the north of the site, and it does allow residential development, and that was the reason that this request is being brought forward as an agricultural request as opposed to a residential zoning request. As I said, they do seek to build two houses. If you look, there's two little yellow houses, one kind of in each place that they're intending to build. As you may recall from the last meeting, it's my understanding that Ms. Miller intends to access the home that's on the larger piece of property from their driveway that's on the south part of the stem that comes out to the road and wrap around. The other piece would be directly accessed from Oswego Highway. One of the reasons we're also looking at an agricultural zoning designation on this tract is because it actually has some pretty significant environmental constraints on it in terms of presence of wetlands and floodplain in proximity. It's just not an ideal property for industrial development, and it's really not an ideal property for intense residential development, but a single family use for an individual house on each piece or a less intense agricultural use really is appropriate given the environmental constraints on the property. We also look at the 2040 comprehensive plan. It is influenced by a conservation preservation designation, which also supports a less intense zoning designation such as BC, and it's also within the suburban development planning area, which does support residential development. Planning Commission does recommend approval of this request. They do find that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan and with the existing environmental constraints on the property. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question. Ms. Rudman, I'm very familiar with that area because I've had constituents to contact me regarding the wetlands mitigation. Their septic tanks fail a lot of times during periods of heavy rains, and we've done studies and everything to try to see what we can do to alleviate some of the problems. And I just want to give, wondered whether or not that was communicated to.
I think if you look at this map that I have up on the screen, it'll kind of help explain the issues that you have with that older neighborhood to the west. Mm-hmm. It actually does back up to a regulatory floodplain as well as mapped wetlands.
It is fairly hydric soil in large parts of this property. Much of those homes were developed before the current environmental regulations are in place. So in order for Ms. Miller to develop a home on either of these two parcels, they are going to have to perk and meet current environmental standards from DHEC. That being said, you're right, it is wet. She's probably going to want to consider not building a slab-on-grade house. And my recommendation would be, if she does construct on these properties, to maybe look at some of the floodplain development techniques that we do require in the special flood hazard area to help mitigate some of the impacts to the structure. I can't require it, but I can recommend it.
Yes, is she present here today?
I believe Ms. Miller is.
Okay. Yes, I just wanted, her to be aware of it, and, it's not on blinded eyes nor deaf ears. We are aware of those difficulties, and we are trying to find ways to alleviate the problems.
Any questions on the board? Hearing none, public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak for or against RZ 2109?
Chairman McCain, Frank Schuler, I see all of you. I'm here with my client, Wendy Miller. I'm kind of here on the 11th hour kind of thing, and I'm about to throw a curveball that's going to help solve your question. Ms. Miller no longer plans to build 2 homes on the subject property that we're talking about. And if you look, if you look at the top of the property and then go west, she owns that property up there as well, and she's going to build 2 homes up there that will be really free and clear of that wetlands issue. I need to get with Helen to determine
How to make that happen?
how to make that happen, and we need to redo our application or what have you. Another curveball is, if you look at the 2 industrial properties, I guess to the north on the road frontage, those properties are owned by Pam Gambrell, who's sitting here waiting on Pam. And as of late last week, they have entered into a deal in which Pam is going to acquire 3 acres coming to the south of her existing properties. And we're about to put that under contract tomorrow. We would like to retain that in light industrial and not get that into agricultural. So again, I don't know if we need to start over at the beginning, probably. So anyways, came in last hour, and so those are where we're kind of going. And just to give council kind of a glimpse into the future, her plan, she has a total of 167 acres, and her goal is to put in a children's day camp where they can learn to fish, learn hunting skills, and outdoorsman activities and things like that. She runs a daycare now for the little people, and she would like to mature into a more teen type of folks that instead of holding on to bees all day, that they're out in the woods and learning to fish and doing what we learned to do when we were growing up. So
That sounds great.
I just wanted to kind of give y'all a glimpse of where we're trying to get to.
So, Mr. Attorney, would it be appropriate to amend the request now, or do we need to?
I think it'd be appropriate to defer second reading and allow the applicant to amend with Ms. Rudman, and then for them to decide the appropriate step, whether to proceed with an amended application or start over.
Could we just approve second reading and come back with amendment third reading? That way we keep the process moving.
You could, that's another way to look at it.
We would prefer that, Councilman.
I make a, no, it's still public.
Okay. Okay, fine. Yes, ma'am. You want to speak?
Could you show me exactly where on the map that she plans to put this house in Kenny Grove?
We don't have a lot of all right, so I can show you on this now. Because here's the subject property.
Is this reserved?
Now I've got an arrow.
here?
Up in here.
It's it would be off Winkle Road, it would be, that you,
Over there.
okay.
And so,
It's not relevant to
Okay,
that's not relevant to this.
We would ask.
And also, I need to know, you acquired the 2 acres. So that's gonna be by industry too?
It's attached to the property that I already own.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, can you talk to them after the?
Who's
Okay.
speaking?
Yeah, well, let's get.
And I want you to ask her something. I just wanted to ask the, lady who owns the, mattress place. She's talking about buying the 3 acres on the side. Okay, are you planning to build something there?
No,
Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
it's pretty wet over there.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am, what's your name?
Gloria Rock.
Gloria Rock.
Gloria Rock. Okay. Now declare the public, unless anyone else wants to speak. Sir, you want to? Please state your name for the record.
Good evening, Council. My name is Michael Harriet, and I had a question, clarification. The entire parcel has been rezoned. The 2 buildings that are there are still commercial, is that it? So they're not, will not be non-use. And as to the property that you're talking about and working out, I wasn't clear which one, where that property was. Was it to the north of the property?
Northwest.
your house is down in here? Down in here? And
Yeah, I'm right at the
yeah.
corner.
So there's the mattress factory, it's these 2 chunks that is the purpose of this request.
So we zoned around the existing commercial, is it? Because all of this right now commercial, like, so we cut out.
That's the request.
Is that what the request is? So you're gonna carve out, be the commercial, and then the property that the other person owns, we're trying to reconnect that property or connect that property down? Is that what we're saying? That's not clear.
Okay. Ms. Miller owns the land up here that's zoned agricultural. She also owns these 2 pieces. In this meeting, it came out that it appears that a 3-acre piece right in here is going to be acquired by the owner of these properties and joined to their property, so it will amend this request, which I will need to have time to look at before 3rd reading. But you are correct that a portion of this property here and here is proposed to be rezoned to agricultural, leaving the property that's on the frontage of Oswego Highway where the existing industries are at zoned light industrial warehouse.
So then additional industrial, light industrial can be built on that piece.
It can be today regardless of whether the property is
Right,
rezoned.
just clarifying, so
Yes.
the initial request though would have included that as part of the residential request that you made.
Part of the agricultural zoning that they're requesting.
Right. So you'll be amending that, I understand correctly.
That is my understanding.
The main part of making is that there will be the ability for that additional industrial property development.
But it's all wetlands, so it can't be developed.
Can't do nothing with it.
It can't be developed.
The 3 acres that we're talking about cutting out, that's all in the wetlands, so you can't put anything on there. They're just doing that to protect their side.
All right, I'm just clarifying for the record. I want to be sure that these things, nothing's going.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harriet. Anyone else wishing to speak? I declare the public hearing over.
Move for approval, 2nd reading, and 3rd reading will be when hell is ready.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we have 2nd reading on RZ 2109. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, on to new business. Ordinance number 21952, Mr. Bryan.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, this ordinance is designed to facilitate the location of a nursing home for South County veterans, a piece of property that's north of Dillon Park, north of the golf course, Dillon Park. You may know that Mr. Nixon and some of his staff at the development board have been trying to figure out a way to develop a site for a nursing home for South County veterans in Suffolk County. And this site has been located as where they'd like to go. Initially, we thought that Suffolk County would acquire the property and then turned around and sold it to the state of South Carolina when they had their funding. So we got an option from Black River Economic Development Corporation, the owner of the property, for the acreage. As it turns out now, the state of South Carolina has its funding and they can buy the property directly from Black River Economic Development Corporation. So there's no need for Suffolk County to acquire the property. So we're not going to exercise the option. However, the option is recorded, so we can take care of that, what we call the cloud on the title. We're going to do that by delivering a quick claim deed to the state of South Carolina when they acquire the property from Black River. And in conjunction with that, we're going to give them a little easement, allow them access to Airport Road. The main frontage will be on Northwise Drive, but they'll need another access. And so we're going to give them about a 20-foot easement to be on the back of behind the green of hole 15 and the tee box of hole 16 on the golf course, about 20 feet wide. So allow them an extra way in and out, if necessary, for emergency purposes. And the purpose of this ordinance is to allow quick claim deeds for to distinguish the option to allow the easement. I'm glad to take any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Bryan?
Move for approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve first reading of ordinance 21952. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Come down to committee reports. We held a public safety committee meeting last Tuesday, April 20th. Mr. Washington is the chairman of that committee. You want to report out?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by thanking my committee members, Councilman Jenny Bird and Councilman Eugene Baton. I also want to thank the work group that helped me formulate the litter plan, which would include Sheriff Anthony Dennis, Chief Deputy Hampton Gardner, Valerie Brunson, and Dr. Fred Fagan, who serves on the Sheriff's Advisory Council. The plan was addressed last week in committee. It passed out unanimously with the members that were present. There were 2 amendments to the plan. The plan was passed out to be passed on as a guide to address the litter issue in Suffolk County, which has been prevalent for a number of years. And just briefly, to inform those who may not have been a part of the meeting, it essentially covers 7 areas, including the litter control officer. And of course, we outlined the job description for a litter control officer. It includes a recommendation for a high volume litter vacuum truck. The Suffolk County staff has done a good job of presenting a number of options in that regard. I want to thank them for the diligent work that they've done in that regard. There is also a piece that captures veterans and their desire to help with the litter issue. They are interested in a 15-man team with 2 supervisors that will supplement the high volume litter vacuum truck and also be responsible for large items that the truck may not be able to pick up, and additionally to be deployed in areas where they are hotspot issues. The litter prevention campaign and education is also important. And our recommendation is to pass that off to the City County Litter Committee, which should include a number of things: educational material, marketing materials, a litter hotline, and those things will be formulated through that committee. It includes court-ordered litter pickup. I've worked with the solicitor to ensure that circuit court judges, magistrates, and solicitors would be sensitive and focused on this issue. Provide community service as an option for violators. And then, of course, it's the Sumter County Sheriff's Office, who plans to reinstate their trustee program. They also plan to use a number of other options, including surveillance cameras, increased patrols, and a number of other new techniques to enforce. And of course, their plan is to aggressively enforce the options that they have available around litter. And then the last piece is a piece that we're already doing, which includes community involvement, which would range from churches, schools, fraternities, American Legion, just a number of groups, neighborhood groups, and so forth that have an interest in making sure Sumter is as clean as it can be. In addition to that, there were 2 amendments that were offered and adopted in committee. And one was offered by Councilman Artie Baker, and it is related to illegal dumping. And the amendment reads, most businesses have public litter cans placed in strategic locations to prevent littering, keep the area clean. These litter cans are sorted to capture organic and recyclables. Illegal dumping occurs when people dump large amounts of garbage or hazardous waste in public areas, on public property, such as in a dumpster or a trash can located behind a store or commercial building. It is illegal to dump trash in dumpsters or trash cans placed on private property unless given explicit permission by the owner to do so. This includes dumpsters, trash cans that are placed in businesses, construction sites, roll-offs, roll carts at homes, and other trash receptacles placed on private property. Suffolk County can consider this type of illegal dumping a misdemeanor, punishable by community service, fines, and or possible jail time. It is recommended to maintain a countywide database of offenders. This amendment was approved unanimously. There was a second amendment by Councilwoman Vivian McGaney. It included litter hotspots. Litter hotspots can be defined as an area with a mass amount of garbage, debris, and trash concentrated in one general area. When it comes to rural areas and areas like the I-95 corridor, some of the biggest issues come from people using an area that is vacant and perceived trespassing and dumping signs where it has occurred, install a video monitoring system, increase Suffolk County Sheriff's deputy patrols in hotspot areas, process hotspot items for names of offenders, prosecute with community service, fines, and or jail time. And of course, this amendment was also approved unanimously. So at this time, Mr. Chairman, I would offer a motion to accept the litter plan and that it be used as a guide for the further litter work that this council will be engaging in to address the litter problem in Sumter County.
You offer this as a motion and a second from the committee?
Correct.
All in favor? Any discussion, first of all? Any questions of Mr. Washington? All in favor? All opposed? Thank you, Mr. Washington. Very well done. We also had a budget workshop held on Tuesday, April 20th. Mr. Nixon,
Mr. Chair, Councilman, good evening. Yes, quickly, on April the 20th, Council, in their continued process for the budget, had a request from department heads, 4 departments actually, for additional personnel that council addressed. Those 4 departments were the solicitor requested 2 positions, the treasurer 1 position, Veterans Affairs 1 position, and a coroner a part-time position. The total cost of those 4 positions, or excuse me, those 4 departments, plus benefits, would be $342,600. We will make this a part of the budget package for council to consider at future meetings. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. The Internal Affairs Committee met today. Councilman Jimmy Byrd is the chair. Mr. Byrd.
Mr. Chairman, yes, our committee met this afternoon, all members were present. Well, no, 2 members were present, sorry. We took the following action. Motion and second from committee to appoint Nicole Bailey and Maureen Dunton to the Cultural Commission.
Okay, we have a motion and a second from the public, from the Internal Affairs Committee to make those 2 appointments. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? All opposed? 2 appointments are approved.
And the next was a motion and second to confer with a joint appointment to the planning commission with the city. And you call it candidate A. At this time, we can't divulge the name until the city confers.
We have a motion and a second to appoint to the planning commission a joint appointment with the city. Candidate A. Any discussion or questions of Mr. Byrd? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The appointment is made.
That concludes the report of the Internal Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Public Works Committee also met today with Mr. Artie Baker as chairman. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we did meet and all members were present. We just had information concerning our procedures with our roads in Sumter County and policies. The only thing that came out of committee for a vote were 2 streetlights that are coming to you with a motion and a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to.
Excuse me. I didn't write the names of them or where they're located. Could you?
And Bernie Longleaf.
Okay. I didn't write that.
Trinity.
Okay, thank you. So that does come,
We have a motion and a second from the Public Works Committee to approve those 2 streetlight locations. Any discussion or questions of Mr. Baker? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? 2 streetlights are approved. We also had a budget workshop and a special meeting today as well. Mr. Nixon.
Chair,
today we did meet at 5 o'clock with another budget workshop where today's topic was the new program proposed by council and by staff to address litter. In this proposal, we had a request of for operating expenditures of $318,100. That would include 2 litter officers and 3 litter techs in the positions. And the rest would be operating expenditures associated with that. We also proposed new equipment for a litter department, would be $350,000, which would include a dump truck, a litter rake, as it's called by the vendor, and a towing truck and a small vehicle truck. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Come now to that portion of the agenda where we have reports from other council members.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I attended the Veterans Upward Bound program with Central Carolina Technical College. And they have what we call a vet talk, where some of the veterans get together and they discuss what's going on in their life, as well as any interest that they might have concerning the community. One of the veterans there talked about his month-long battle with the coronavirus. This was very touching because he really thought that he was going to die, and but he managed to get through it and seemed to be okay. But another veteran, for some reason, he asked me, is the school district going to get their money this year? Evidently, he's been following what's been happening because he said that they haven't got their millage increase in the last 4 years. I couldn't tell him yes or no, but I did tell him that the person who was one of the councilmen that we always depended on to support the school district did not support the school district. However, that person had been replaced by another councilman who believes in public education and will support the school district. So I told him that looked like we are going to have 4 votes again to support public education. And we talked about the emphasis of public education on the workforce, that the Sumter County workforce is a result of public education, and that we need to make sure that the students receive a quality education. So I am looking forward to the school district being funded as they are or should be by South Carolina law, Act 388, which says they are entitled to the funds that we have been denying them for the past 4 years. Also, as you know, I keep account of the veterans that have died using the Sumter item obituaries as my source. And since our last meeting on the 11th of April, we've had 4 more veterans to pass away, giving us a total now of 92 veterans that have died in the past 140 days. And this is since I've been keeping account, a record of it since December the 8th, 2020. And looking at that, what we're seeing is that every day and a half, a veteran died. So I'm again looking forward to this council supporting Ms. Valerie Bronson's request for additional help in helping her to service the many veterans that we have in Sumter County. We owe a gratitude to our veterans. We sit here in this meeting, luckily, over the years, no bomb has fallen on us. We're safe. And we're safe because of the veterans, because of some other people out there dedicating their life to make sure they serve and protect the United States of America. And I think we owe them a gratitude. And that gratitude would be when we approve the additional position for the Veteran Affairs Office, which we have disapproved in the last couple of years. That's my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Ms. Blandon, can you please bring up that flyer for me, please?
Yes, sir.
On the week of May the 10th to the 14th, Ms. Brunson has gotten with me and I've gotten with Prisma Health, and we are going to have a veterans-focused vaccine clinic at the Civic Center from May 10th to May 14th. Ms. Brunson has also gotten the Regional Veterans Administration involved. This is to include veterans and their families, since all are now eligible for the vaccine. Since I sit on the board of the Santee Wateree Regional Transit Authority. We will also, the Transit Authority will also be offering transportation to the Civic Center for our veterans and their families free of charge. So if you know of any veterans that have not been vaccinated, we will be getting out more information concerning this clinic. Again, it will be held at the Civic Center from May 10th to the 14th. Now, this does not preclude any of our citizens from also visiting the Civic Center to get vaccines as well. That is my report. Ms. Brandy, monthly reports.
Yes, sir. The administrator's, COVID information is in the packet, as well as, that's it. And then, excuse me, we also have, council members need to get back with me as quickly as possible concerning the, Bluegrass and Barbecue. And these are the dates I think I gave council members the last time concerning the, schedule. And Ms. Rogers also, and Ms. Dennis, I think, gave us the schedule concerning, going to the Civic Center. And that's all I have.
County Administrator's report, Mr. Nixon.
No report, sir.
Thank you. We come now to the public comment section of our agenda with citizens desiring to speak. Can speak to council for 3 minutes. Anyone wishing to address council, please come to the podium and state your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Michael Harriet, and I just want to take a moment and thank each of you. I thank you for the time that you give up. I know what you're doing. I've had a piece of this in the past of my life. I know no matter what you do, there's a whole bunch of folks that don't know what you're doing. I want you to know there are people that support you, the hard work you do, the meetings that you attend, the time away from your friends and family. I know how rough it is. And I want you to know that you have great staff. I know many of them individually. They're hard work. I just want to stick around and say thank you. Job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Harriet. Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to speak to council? Seeing none, to adjourn.